AIG. AIG stands for American International Group. It is a global insurance and financial services company. It was founded in 1919 by Cornelius Vanderstar in Shanghai, China, as insurance company. Over the decades, AIG grew into a major player in the financial world, offering a wide range of services, including general insurance, life insurance, retirement products, and various financial services. Before the 2008 crisis, AIG was considered one of the largest insurance companies in the world. Traditionally, it focused on insurance, but in the early 2000s, it expanded into more complex financial products. One of its key business areas became issuing credit default swaps, or CDS. These are financial instruments that function like insurance contracts. They protect investors in case a borrower, such as a bank or corporation, defaults on their debt. At the time, these products seemed low risk and high profit. AIG was highly profitable but took on excessive risk, particularly through credit default swaps. When the housing market collapsed, this risk materialized, triggering a chain reaction across the global financial system during the 2008 financial crisis.
I will talk about the causes of the AIG crisis. The first crisis is involvement in risky financial products. AIG involved in risky financial products, particularly credit default swap, which cost AIG $30 billion, are typically credited with being a major factor in the failure. However, they weren't the sole culprit. AIG also lost $21 billion due to securities lending activities, where it reinvested collateral in high-risk assets. Next, the second crisis is credit rating downgrade and collateral demand. AIG's credit rating was downgraded below AA- on September 15, 2008. AIG was forced to post more collateral as a result of the downgrade. AIG witnessed a $12.4 billion shortfall as a result of its inability to meet the demand of the cost for collateral on its credit default swap, which increased to $32 billion. Moreover, the third cause of the AIG crisis is exposure to securitization and mortgage-backed securities. AIG made major investment in mortgage-backed security, especially those that were backed by subprime loan. Although these products were initially perceived as low-risk, high-yield investment, they were actually very susceptible to drop in the housing market. The value of these MBS fell as default rate increased and housing prices declined. AIG had a serious liquidity crisis and needed a government bailout to survive after failing to sell off enough assets to pay its debts.
In this part, we will go through the timeline of the crisis in detail. First, what are the early warning signs? In 2007, subprime mortgages collapsed and the value of MBS declined sharply due to homeowners defaulting. In the fourth quarter of 2007, AIG reported a $11.1 billion loss from CDS, which is 98% of the total loss for the year. Next, the escalation during 2008. In February, AIG's auditor concluded it had a material weakness in its internal controls related to its CDS portfolio value estimation. Then, CEO Martin Sullivan resigned and was replaced by Robert Willemstad in June. On the 15th of September, Lehman Brothers, a major global investment bank, went bankrupt and triggered panic. Then, here we come to the breaking point. The main character of this incident, AIG, could not escape from being destroyed by the market as well. On the 16th of September 2008, credit agencies downgraded AIG, which has bet heavily in the CDS market, further undermining investor confidence and subsequently causing the liquidity crisis. Therefore, the Federal Reserve stepped in to rescue AIG with an $85 billion loan. This crisis had a huge impact on AIG's reputation and stability. AIG lost public trust because its reckless risk-taking in derivatives exposed deep mismanagement. In addition, AIG was forced to divest and restructure by selling its major assets gradually, including AIA, Alico, and ILFC, to repay the loan from the government.
So now I will present the government intervention and payout to rescue AIG. So according to a table, we can see that in September 2008, the Federal Reserve have issued an initial loan of $85 billion to AIG in exchange for 79.9% of company's equity and 11.5% of interest. And after AIG reached a deal with the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, an additional $37.8 billion will be provided in October of 2008, which the term is collateralized with AIG assets. And in November 2008, the AIG payout was restructured to involve the Treasury investor $40 billion in preferred share under the Troubled Asset Relief Program (TARP). In terms of exchange the share with 10% of dividends, and also involve the creation of maiden land facilities by the Federal Reserve, which they used $52.5 billion to purchase the assets. And in March of 2009, the Treasury also provided an additional $30 billion to stabilize the company further. So in the end, the US government has committed up to $182 billion to rescue the AIG from the 2008 financial crisis. And by December 2012, the government has fully exited from the AIG holdings, and all the loans and will be repaid by the gains and interest, and the overall of positive of return on the Treasury and Federal Reserve was 22.7 billion. So after I'm talking about many payout the US government did to save the AIG, and it will be like a question like why this kind of payout was necessary, right? So like what intro said just now, AIG was the biggest insurance companies at that time, and it was still interconnected with the global financial system, and its failure also seen as the systemic risk. And if AIG was bankrupt at that time, it will causing a domino effect of bankrupt and also freezing the entire credit system. And besides, the failures of Lehman Brothers day earlier had already shaken the global financial market confidence. So if AIG also bankrupt at the time, it will have a signal like they have no financial institution was safe, and causing a few effect like full-scale bank panic and also a deeper and longer global recession.
As a conclusion, the AIG financial crisis of 2008 highlighted the dangers of excessive risk-taking, poor risk management, and lack of transparency in the financial system. AIG, once one of the most powerful insurance companies in the world, collapsed under the weight of its risky financial products, especially credit default swaps and exposure to mortgage-backed security. The crisis not only damaged AIG reputations but also triggered the entire global financial system, leading to a historic $182 billion government bailout. These interventions not only just to save AIG but also to prevent a much deeper economic collapse. So, what we can learn from the AIG financial crisis? First, financial institutions must have strong internal control and risk management system. Second, regulatory oversight must be strict, especially when companies deal with complex financial instruments. Third, transparency is essential both within the company and the public to ensure early detections of the potential risks. And finally, the crisis reminds us that the failure of one major institution can trigger a domino effect in the global economy. The AIG case stands as a warning about what can happen when financial innovations go unchecked by regulations and accountability. That's all from us. Thank you. Bye bye.